From humble beginnings to legendary status, Israel Adesanya has made a name for himself in the world of MMA. But before joining the UFC, the last stylebender enjoyed an excellent kickboxing career, and that had many people questioning whether his success was simply due to luck or hard work. So, let's take a look at what enabled him to become one of the most successful kickboxers in history. Adesanya started training in Muay Thai back in 2008 in Wanguanyu, under the tutelage of Derek Broughton. He then moved to City Kickboxing and trained alongside Eugene Behrman, a partnership that has stood strong ever since. During his days as a kickboxer, he had an impressive record of 75-5 as a professional and an unbeaten amateur career of 32-0. Not only was Adesanya successful in the ring, but he also fought in multiple weight classes, including middleweight and heavyweight.
Expect the championship experience of Adesanya to start to take form and show itself.
Yeah, look at the big, deep breaths from the challenger. Oh, that was a good elbow from the bottom.
His ability to transition between weights is just one example of his unparalleled skill and intelligence. This has allowed him to continue his success in MMA. It's clear that Adesanya's talent and hard work enabled him to become one of the most successful kickboxers ever, a title he continues to hold even today. His impressive record is proof enough that his success was not due to luck, but rather true grit and determination.
Oh! Knockdown for Adesanya! Costa trying to recover! That is it!
Interestingly, Adesanya's kickboxing career isn't quite as illustrious as one might think. In fact, he's got a record of 75 wins against 5 losses, which sounds pretty good, until you look at the names of those who have beaten him. One of Adesanya's most convincing losses came in his second fight against Alex Pereira at Glory of Heroes 15. Yes, the same Alex Pereira he just lost to in the UFC.
At 2 minutes, 1 second of the 5th round, declaring the winner by TKO and new UFC Undisputed.
That's not a good look. It was the only knockout loss of his career, and Pereira holds 2 victories over him. But it's not just big-time UFC fighters he lost to. In 2014, Adesanya lost a unanimous decision to former 2-time Glory middleweight champion Simon Marcus at Kunlun Fight 2. He also suffered a unanimous decision loss to Jason Wilness, another former Glory middleweight champion, in January 2017. Adesanya's debut in Glory was a loss too. He lost to Philip Verlanden at Glory 15 Istanbul via unanimous decision. Despite all his wins, the last stylebender never became a Glory champion during his tenure in kickboxing. But of course, none of this matters now, since Israel eventually won gold in the UFC, becoming one of its most successful champions ever. He holds a perfect record of 23 wins against 2 losses in the UFC, with 5 title defenses to his name so far. So yes, Israel Adesanya was a successful kickboxer, but he's certainly exceeded expectations since transitioning to the UFC. The fighter is now one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world and is still on an upward trajectory. Who knows, maybe one day we'll see him become a champion in both kickboxing and MMA. I definitely think he's earned it. The way Israel fights is nothing short of magical. He's like the complete package. His striking ability has been a major factor in many of his wins, and it's why he's become one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC. If you're looking for a master of the stand-up game, look no further than Israel Adesanya. With a background in kickboxing and Muay Thai, he's developed an incredibly diverse striking style that has left his opponents outmatched. He loves to mix up his attacks with punches, kicks, elbows, and knees, often using them to set up his strikes. He's so accurate and powerful that over 80% of his fights end in a knockout or technical knockout. Thanks to his kickboxing past, Adesanya also has some of the best footwork in the UFC. He moves around the octagon with incredible agility, always staying one step ahead of his opponents. It's almost like he can anticipate their next move before they even make it. His footwork allows him to stay out of reach while still being able to land powerful strikes. He's also looking for an opening in his opponent's defense, so he can close the distance and land a decisive strike. That's why Adesanya is able to win fights with such swiftness, as his footwork gives him the edge over many of his opponents. If there was ever a fight that showcased showcased his incredible footwork, it would have to be his fight against Kelvin Gastelum. He used his feet to outmaneuver and outstrike Gastelum, ultimately leading to a victory by unanimous decision. Adesanya isn't just a master of the stand-up game, he's also one of the smartest fighters in the UFC. He studies his opponents carefully and looks for weaknesses that he can exploit. He'll adjust his strategy accordingly and uses agility to control the octagon, forcing his opponents to fight on his terms. His ability to read his opponents and adjust his strategy accordingly is one of the reasons why he's so successful in the octagon. He knows exactly when to go on the offensive and when to back off, which has resulted in many impressive victories. Adesanya brings a whole different level of strategy to MMA fights, but there's one really underrated thing about him, and that's his mental toughness. Adesanya is a force of nature when it comes to that. He has unbelievable resilience, refusing to give up in the face of adversity and bouncing back from losses with impressive strength. His focus and composure under pressure is simply remarkable, allowing him to stay calm even in the most intense situations, and often turn the tide of a fight in his favor. This mental toughness has helped him win several close fights, and firmly established him as one of the most mentally tough fighters in the UFC. But it wasn't always smooth sailing for Adesanya. Recently, he suffered an unexpected defeat against Alex Pereira at UFC 281, when referee Mark Goddard stopped the fight a bit too early.
Oh, here's that left hook.
He hurt him bad.
Oh, now a right. Adesanya's on one leg. Two more. Down goes the champion. Pineda trying to close the show. And do it.
Naturally, this left Adesanya wanting revenge, and he made sure his coach knew it. Izzy was like, "We'll fight," said coach Eugene Behrman when asked about a possible rematch. Before Israel had his surgery and everything, he was prepared to take the fight on 4 to 5 weeks' notice if Pereira was willing to take the fight. It's no surprise that Adesanya is so passionate about getting a second chance at victory. After all, he's one of the very few fighters who can boast having never been knocked out in his career. That's why Behrman was eager to get the fight set up as soon as possible, even if it meant pushing for the fight to happen sooner than expected. "I would have been happy with May or June," said Behrman, "but give or take, I'm okay with the timeline that we have, and things are looking good so far in preparation for the bout." Behrman is pleased with the progress Adesanya has made, and he's busy calculating the days as they go by and monitoring the progress. So it looks like April will be an exciting month for Adesanya, who is determined to prove that he can still come out on top against Pereira. Here's hoping that this time around, Adesanya will be able to take the win and become the champion he deserves to be. But this brings me back to his kickboxing career. Israel was a great kickboxer, but you know who was even better than him? Alex freaking Pereira. Remember, he was one of the few men to beat Israel in the kickboxing ring. Could it just be that Alex is sorta like a kryptonite for Israel whenever they face off? I mean, he's beaten him twice now, in 2 different sports. Could he do it again? We'll have to wait and find out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.